Taehyung asks fans to stop linking his name to Jungkook. This statement trends worldwide. What happened between the two BTS members? Why did Taehyung suddenly speak out? Is the most beloved bond in K-pop beginning to shatter? What triggered Taehyung to speak so firmly, and why did he choose this moment to sever a long-held fan fantasy? Could this statement signal a deeper issue between him and Jungkook, one that fans have overlooked for years? In what was initially expected to be a lighthearted and intimate Q&A session, BTS member Kim Taehyung, known globally as V, unexpectedly set social media ablaze with a statement so bold, so emotionally charged, that it sparked immediate trending hashtags worldwide. "Please stop linking my name to Jungkook," he said, firmly, his tone unshakable and expression unreadable. Within minutes, phrases like Taehyung and Jungkook, Taikook is over, and respect Taehyung's words surged across X, formerly Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. But what lies beneath this powerful declaration? Why now? Fans have long adored the duo often referred to as Taikook, a fan-created ship named blending Taehyung and Jungkook's names. From their earliest debut days, the chemistry between the two youngest members of BTS was undeniable, on stage, off stage, and in variety content that fans consumed with ferocity. Over the years, edited compilations, fan art, speculative videos, and entire fanfiction universes were built around their bond. For many, Taikook was not just a ship, it was a source of emotional investment, hope, and joy did Taehyung, after years of tolerance or perhaps silent indifference, now choose to speak up. Was this statement born of frustration? A boundary long overdue? Or could it be the clearest sign yet that something has quietly broken between him and Jungkook? During the Q&A, Taehyung was responding to a fan's question about future collaboration projects. The mood was casual until someone asked if he would consider doing a duet with Jungkook, referencing their past harmonies and famously viral interactions. His smile faltered. His demeanor stiffened. "Can I be honest?" he said. Then, without hesitating, "I'd like fans to stop connecting me with Jungkook in every project. Please, I want that to stop." A chilling silence followed before the chat section exploded in confusion, heartbreak, and disbelief. Was it a personal plea or a professional boundary? Was it a private matter now made public, or something deeper than fans had ever suspected? The implications were massive. In the fandom where every glance, every sentence, and every photo is dissected like sacred scripture, Taehyung's message landed like an emotional earthquake. What does this mean for Taikook fans who have built emotional investment over a decade? Was this a soft denial of all the speculation that swirled around their relationship? Or was it a desperate cry for respect, privacy, and autonomy? Fans are now scrambling through past content for clues. Many are pointing to a gradual distancing between the two in public appearances over the last couple of years. Less joint B lives, fewer selfies together, almost no direct mentions in recent interviews. Others argue that this could be a consequence of military service, time apart, or simply growing up. Yet some speculate the issue runs deeper. Could this be the result of a private conflict? Is there tension behind the scenes that fans were never meant to see? A former insider who once worked with BTS during their international tour circuit claimed anonymously, there were moments of disagreement between Taehyung and Jungkook, especially around how their image was being perceived by fans. They're incredibly close, but being labeled constantly together when both want individual artistic freedom has created pressure. It's not a fight, it's more like a silent struggle. Still, others believe the statement wasn't directed at Jungkook at all, but entirely at the fandom. One popular Korean blogger wrote, "Taehyung has always been clear about boundaries." This might just be him asking fans to see him as his own person, especially with his solo projects gaining momentum. It's about respect. But that raises another question. Was this really about respect? Or was it something more raw, something emotional, perhaps even painful? Throughout his career, Taehyung has been praised for his warmth and closeness with fellow members, especially Jungkook. Fans have countless memories of their whispered jokes, synchronized laughter, and quiet support during the group's most difficult moments. For him to detach from that publicly feels less like a press strategy and more like an emotional necessity. And what about Jungkook? At the time of this article's release, he has not commented on the matter. His silence has only added to the wave of speculation. Was he blindsided by the statement, or had they discussed it privately beforehand? Does he feel hurt or relieved? The fandom is in turmoil. On social media, reactions have ranged from sorrow and betrayal to understanding and defense. One fan wrote, "If Taehyung feels this way, we owe it to him to respect it. He's not an object for shipping. He's a human being." Another said, "Taikook was my comfort place. I feel like I just lost a part of my youth." Could this mark the end of an era, not just of a ship, but of the very mythos that fans have wrapped around BTS's emotional brotherhood? Some fans worry that this moment may create tension within the fandom itself. Others believe it might be a turning point for healthier fan-idol relationships. A well-known K-pop analyst stated, "We're witnessing a shift. Taehyung is confronting a part of fandom culture that idolizes connection over individuality. It's a bold, necessary step, but also a risky one." Yet for all the speculation, what remains undeniable is that the statement hit a nerve. There's a long-standing emotional narrative that fans have built between Taehyung and Jungkook, not just romantic, but spiritual. The belief that their friendship transcended norms, that it held something eternal. To now hear one half of that bond say, essentially, "Please separate us," is like watching a glass crack in slow motion. Is this the beginning of a new chapter for Taehyung? One where he carves his name not as part of a pair, but as an independent artist determined to reshape his identity? Or will time reveal this moment as a misunderstood cry amidst the chaos of global fame? What can be confirmed is this: the ripple effects of Taehyung's statement are just beginning. Every upcoming interview, military update, and social post will be analyzed for signs of reconciliation, distance, or silent understanding. Fans are holding their breath for Jungkook's response, which may never come, and maybe that's the real heartbreak, not in what was said, but in what might remain unsaid. Even as Taehyung's words echo across the internet, questions persist. Why now? What triggered the need for this line in the sand? Could there be unseen pressures, either from within the agency or from an emotional burden he's carried for too long? Was this his way of claiming back his narrative? The legacy of Taikook has been immortalized in countless moments, some real, some imagined, but all deeply felt. Whether this marks its epilogue or simply a turning point remains to be seen, but if one thing is certain, it's this: fans will never look at a Taehyung and Jungkook moment the same way again. And perhaps that was the point all along. But what if this isn't just about boundaries or discomfort with fan behavior? What if Taehyung's words were a coded message, one final attempt to reclaim his identity before it disappears behind someone else's shadow forever? As the storm rages online, one can't help but revisit the foundation on which Taikook was built. It was never officially acknowledged by the group, the company, or the members themselves. Yet it thrived. It grew into a colossal online phenomenon, complete with fan events, anniversary dates, conspiracy threads, and thousands of hours of video content. Fans compiled even the slightest interaction, glances, or shared outfits into something resembling truth. But in the process, did we ignore the human behind the illusion? Is it possible that behind the fantasy, both Taehyung and Jungkook were silently struggling with the weight of a story they never authored? One of the most viewed videos on YouTube, titled "The Unspoken Bond Between Taikook," has over 15 million views. Its comment section is filled with fans pouring out emotional gratitude, saying how Taikook helped them survive loneliness, bullying, depression, even trauma. For many, it was more than shipping. It was survival. When Taehyung said, "Please stop," he wasn't just speaking to fan obsession. He was, intentionally or not, tearing down a coping mechanism for millions, and that makes this situation devastatingly complex. Are we guilty of projecting our own emotional needs onto real people, to the point where their silence becomes part of our fantasy and their honesty becomes a betrayal? As fan debates intensify, some have pointed fingers at Bigot Music, suggesting the agency encouraged the pairing early in BTS's career to boost engagement. Skinship moments were once common in K-pop to drive closeness between idols and fans. But as members matured and sought solo paths, these dynamics became uncomfortable. Was Taehyung finally breaking free from an image he never agreed to maintain? Interestingly, a resurfaced clip from a 2020 V Live shows Taehyung quietly asking fans not to edit romantic content between members. "We're all very close like family," he had said at the time. That moment was largely ignored. Now, it reads like a foreshadowing. Still, the silence from Jungkook is the loudest voice in the room. Fans have scoured his latest Weverse and Instagram posts, analyzing captions and photo choices for signs. His last few updates have been noticeably solo-centric. No mentions of Taehyung. No shared memories. Is this calculated professionalism, emotional restraint, or something deeper? A former K-pop PR manager who requested anonymity told us, statements like Taehyung's are rarely spontaneous. They come after months, sometimes years, of internal frustration. He didn't just wake up and decide this. He probably wrestled with it endlessly, worried about the consequences. And the consequences are massive. Taehyung's solo brand, which had been gaining artistic traction through projects like Layover, has now been hijacked by this narrative. Despite his bold statement, the headlines are once again about Taikook, not about his voice, his direction, or his heart. In a tragic twist of irony, the very thing he tried to distance himself from has now consumed him more than ever. So, what happens next? Some predict damage control from Bigot. Perhaps a carefully crafted joint photo or vague reassurance statement. Others believe both members will remain silent, letting the storm burn itself out. But if Taehyung truly meant every word, and there's no reason to believe he didn't, this silence may be permanent, and that raises the most painful question yet. Did fans lose Taikook because they loved it too much? Behind the tweets and trending tags, the core of this story is heartbreakingly simple. Two people, burdened by a narrative they never wrote, trying to breathe in a room full of expectations. Maybe Taehyung was never angry. Maybe he was exhausted. Maybe this wasn't a severing, but a survival instinct. The deeper fans dive into past footage, the more fragmented the truth becomes. Was that lingering look between them on stage meaningful, or merely the result of being coworkers sharing a decade of history? Was every smile authentic? Was every hug real? Or were we, the fans, creating intimacy where there was only friendship? And is it fair to dissect their humanity like this? The BTS fandom, ARMY, is known globally for its strength and loyalty. But this moment reveals its most fragile fault line. The way emotional closeness between idols is often reinterpreted as romantic entanglement, creating both joy and pain. "I feel betrayed," one anonymous fan posted on a private Discord forum. "I gave my heart to a connection that maybe never existed." Another replied, "Maybe it did exist, but just not in the way we wanted." That subtle distinction is what makes this so difficult. Taehyung didn't deny friendship. He didn't erase Jungkook from his life. He simply asked, "Please stop linking my name to his." That's not hatred. It's not rejection. It's a request for identity. And in doing so, he might have lost a part of his legacy while reclaiming his truth. Social psychologists studying parasocial relationships, the one-sided emotional attachments formed between fans and celebrities, are watching this unfold with interest and concern. Taehyung's statement may go down as one of the most important fandom moments in modern pop culture, said Dr. Elise Monroe of Stanford University. It challenges the lines between personal freedom and public expectation, between intimacy and performance. For now, the fandom remains split. Some feel crushed. Others applaud Taehyung's courage. Many simply feel lost, but what is certain is that things will never be the same. Every time a fan watches an old Taikook clip, they'll hear those words echoing back. "Please stop linking my name to Jungkook." Not because there wasn't something beautiful there, but because maybe the real beauty was never meant to be dissected. Maybe Taehyung is trying to remind us of something we all forgot, that even idols have limits, and even the strongest bonds need space to grow, breathe, and sometimes let go.